Good morning, good morning, good morning. You're in tune to Win FM 98.9. That's on your radio dial. It's Friday morning. It is a beautiful day here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Like I said, the weather is perfect. Sometimes I wonder if this is what heaven is going to feel like, because this is my heaven, this is paradise. I don't think the Kittitians and Nivisians who are living abroad understand what they would have given up, what they would have traded for what they have. But I think it's a beautiful place. Nevis is absolutely gorgeous. The both countries, we are blessed. We are the gem of the Caribbean. I mean, St. Kitts and Nevis, it's Queen City and Sugar City. It's exactly what our name says. It's a beautiful place to be. Because it's Friday morning, it's about that time, the time we have Your Views. Your Views is a program that is aired on Win FM every Friday morning around 10 o'clock. It's a program where you can share your views. We talk about things that affects us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We look at other things happening around us. We look at the world on a whole and see how we can prepare ourselves for what is about to come. Because as we can see right now, the instability that we are faced with, the weather is doing things that we're not accustomed to. When you look at the news and you see what's happening in the rest of the world, you realize that global warming is a reality. And we have to start looking at not the world that we've left yesterday, but look at what we are going into today and tomorrow. We definitely have to change our focus. The world is changing, and the only people who are staying the same, it's us. We're trying to live in a 20th, 19th century, in the 21st century. We have to start looking otherwise, because let me tell you something, the world has gone way, way, way ahead of some of us, and we are basically stuck in a rut. My name is Sandra Quilly-Atherton. I'm usually the host for Your Views. It's a program you can call in and you can share your views. You can talk about things that are affecting you. We can look about giving ideas to people who can make a difference. It's not about just complaining. It's about finding solutions. And I find that is something that we are seriously lacking now these days, is that everybody has a problem. Nobody can't seem to come up with a solution. And when you come up with a solution, people find a problem within it. It's sickening, honestly. Sometimes I browse through social media. I go on Facebook sometimes. I don't like it anymore. It's just it's like a sewage. People go, yeah, their dirty laundry. Everybody complains. It's sickening. I look at where we at right now, and I say that we couldn't have been placed better. And that's my opinion. And I suppose others who are not biased would say the same thing when you make comparisons, because you have to compare. I think we have done very well in the circumstances that we have been faced with. For the fact that we're a very small country, we have strived in leaps and bounds. We are still not feeling the brunt of what the world, the big countries are feeling. I don't know. I mean, we have to just basically chalk it down to good governance. People are going to have a problem with me saying that. But it's a reality. It's a fact. When it's not so, I talk about it. When it is so, I talk about it. So it's just for us to realize that we have been shot. It's hard. Life is tough. I'm going to tell you that much, but at least we have to become a little more creative. We have to change the way that we're accustomed to do things and start to look at how we can do things otherwise. There are so many opportunities out there, job opportunities. I've been trying to find a driver for my truck for the longest while, and people are saying that there's no work in St. Kitts. It's everybody has a job. I can't seem to understand it. You call people for an interview, and it's two jobs. We want to be able to mix and shift and they have two jobs and three jobs, and people are quite comfortable. And I'm seeing that now, and I can say that from a business perspective, because you're looking for people to work, and it's quite difficult to find people to work here in St. Kitts and Nevis. It's either people don't want to work, or we're doing great. And I don't think people don't want to work because people are complaining. But you see, I find one of the problems with us here in St. Kitts and Nevis is that we wait for too much for hand-me-downs. I look at a young man. I did an interview with a young man yesterday. I was so impressed. So impressed. His, the creative mindset that he has. I was very much impressed. We talk about the negative sides of our young people. We never see the positive side, and we never come and talk about the positive side. I find our young men, some of them, they're very, very creative, and given the chance to others who have fallen away on the wayside, if we were not so harsh and always criticizing, they might have been doing much better. But I think for us, the people, like, people who, the older people generation that's supposed to be training those coming up, that is something that we have lost. We have lost that connection. The information coming down to us have been cut off, so people are just living the way they want to live, and that is something that I have a problem with. When we start to criticize these young people, we have to look at the fact that we would have failed them as adults. We would have failed our young people, and then at the end of the day we are going to chastise them. We have to start to look and see as parents, because they didn't raise themselves, we have to see as parents where we would have fallen short. And 95% of the time, it is poor parenting. And I don't care what anybody said, it is a fact. These children came and they're clean. Whatever they do, they imitates you. And so when you look at some characteristics of some of the children, I can tell you that because I can start a sentence and I know my son is going to finish it. He says something and I understand. You come and tell me, oh, Alia did this or Javier did this. I can tell you, no way, no how. That's not their style. Because as parents, you have to understand what your children are capable of. I have a grandchild and she's 3 years old and she says everything that you would have said, she says it. She behaves the same way. You understand the household from which she comes because she behaves the same way. And I can say that 95% of the time, it is a reality. It is how you raise your children. It decides the outcome. Sometimes as parents, we think we're doing the best thing. Like we want our children to succeed in areas that we thought we would have failed. And so we push them into things, push them to do things. Everybody wants a lawyer or a doctor. Sometimes the poor child is not capable. We have to be able to decipher whether our children are academically inclined or they're quite handy, and there's room for people who have skills. I find that area we're overlooking, and now we recognize we're living in a world where skills, when you're the skilled workers are the ones who are going to go forward. Construction workers, people used to look down on them. Now they're the ones who work for the most money. Electricians, as long as you have that skill, you always would have money because somebody always needs that. It's not all the time people need a lawyer or a doctor. We have so many lawyers and so many doctors here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I mean, we have more doctors and lawyers than patients and clients and criminals. We have too much of the same thing here, and it's starting to pose a problem. When you start to have so many lawyers, you're encouraging criminal activities because at least they have some areas to go to. When you have too many doctors, you're creating an environment of sick people because they have areas to go. And we're going to talk about sick people and the environment that we would have created and the areas that we would have neglected and the things that we can start looking at and recognize how resourceful we are here in St. Kitts and Nevis and how we are underutilizing what we have. And I'm going to tell you, I have somebody here this morning. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the natural resources that we have here in St. Kitts. We're going to talk about the natural herbs that we can use. We can talk about the neglect. We're seeing too many chronic diseases that are creeping through. There are people who have too many amputations. You have diabetics in galore. We have hypertensive. Almost everybody suffers from hypertension. We have people who are getting stroke like it's a new fad. And it's because of the fact that we are neglecting the natural resources that we have. We are looking outside of the box. We're hearing now what and the conspiracy of the pharmaceuticals and the big big pharmacies and the things that they're trying to push on us. It's a money-making scheme. Herbs are natural and they are free. If you would take up your lazy self and go out and start looking for it yourself, and you wouldn't have to depend on people to bring it to you. And I find that is one of the biggest problems that we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis is that we wait. I know when I was growing up, there's certain practices that my mother used to do, and you hold on to that. People come and they ask me, what is good for this? What is good for that? I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you from experience that this is going to work because we've used it. These are the things that we would have done. We didn't have to go study in a book because everybody's different. Everybody's made up differently. And most of the studies are done from a different racial background, different ethnicity, and so therefore it's not what works for them doesn't necessarily it's going to work for us. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and sometimes I find that we fail to look at the side effects. I have with me here is the Bushman, Ajalan. He has learned, he has from experience, and he would tell you, sorry, I brought him back because people are asking me to bring him back, but just don't ask me to bring him back. I want people to start to do things, the things that he's saying to you. I can tell you, it works. They work. Herbs are healing. They're going to heal you. not like pharmaceuticals that when you take them, they're going to create comfort. When you take herbs, they're going to heal you. And so, therefore, it took some time before you became sick. And so, therefore, it's going to take some time before you become well. So, it's not about looking for comfort. It's not about taking it for a day or two and think that within the first or the second day you're going to be good or you're going to heal. It takes some time. We break down our bodies. We eat it. We fill it with junk. We eat junk. The foods that we're eating is poison. And so, if you continue to poison your body, sooner or later you reach a point of no return. You can't repair it, and people expect people to work miracles. I listened to Patrick Delves. He's one of those herbologists in Grenada. I listen to his programs. I find he's quite good. But he makes some really make sense, because he talk about the fact that sometimes it's just true. We damage, and we only come to when we see that we are at stage 4, when there's absolutely nothing else you can do, and they expect people to work miracles. If the drugs are going to fail you at a later stage, it's the same thing the herbs are going to do. And because at the end of the day, you don't have patience. Sometimes when you're detoxing, you have nausea, you have sick feelings. And when you're already sick and have to go through a sickening feeling, it's time to say, let's pack it up. And your mind is a powerful thing. A lot of times, because of the fact that we can't cope, our minds are not going to, we just can't take it anymore, then we give up. And so that's what it is. So this morning, we're going to talk about prevention. And also prevention, I remember growing up, is an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Never understood that until basically now, recognizing that we have to start practicing good nutrition. We have to, and I was basically the wind was knocked out of me when I was told excess exercise creates inflammation. If you feed your bodies with the foods the nutrition that it needs, then your body is going to do what it's supposed to do. We were created by the Almighty, who knows all, sees all, understands all. He understands when we are, before we were created, when we're going to come, and when we are going to leave. So therefore, a body that he made for us was to withstand all of these adversities and all of these bad eating habits that we would have had. Our body still functions, and it's a pity sometimes the things that we do to our body. Actually, good morning, and welcome to your views.
Good morning, Sanja, and just want to say good morning to the general public and the whole worldwide field,
Yep, I just talk a lot. It was just a lot talking. I feel so winded because it's so much to say, and you just hope that people will be listening and they will have a good understanding. Let's talk about prevention, because everybody talks about solution and cures. But what about us, about preventative measures that we can take in order so that we don't have to start looking for cures and that kind of solution?
Well, I mean, prevention, when you talk about prevention, we have to look at what causes the situation at first, And the first thing that we have to check is what we put inside. What we put inside of our body, you know what I'm saying? So, in terms of prevention, we have to consider the stuff that we're consuming. We got to get conscious about the stuff that we are consuming, We know that we eat the fruits and the veg them, they got a lot of life properties within them, So these are life-giving food, and we found that they are really nutritious to our body, and, that's the best way to go.
I noticed some people would take every day. You see, I have a neighbor who cleans his vehicle, and this is no joke. Sometimes he does it morning and afternoon, but I can tell you every day he makes sure his vehicles are washed, and he uses a shiny polish so that it prevents it from the heat and the water marks. And when you look at people taking care of their vehicles, you make sure your vehicle is serviced on time. You check your oil, you check your filters, and make sure your tires, your brakes, your everything is there. You put in the gas when you have to put in gas. And when you look at yourself, even your cellular phone, you make sure that it's properly topped up. You have the type of service that you want, data you have, and everything is taken care of. You look at your house, you make sure you have the proper furniture in there. Every morning you would sweep the dust from there. People would dust on the weekend, change the curtains every time, and make sure those material things are well looked after. And when it comes to our bodies, we don't care.
That's true.
I remember one time I had a program and I started to call out so I made some statement and, I really got trashing for it. But it's a business making, a money-making business. And foods has become that. It has become, we know everybody has to eat, and so everybody's now selling food.
That's true. That's true. I mean, the whole, everybody right now want to be consumed. Just what you trying to be, or you know what I mean? They promote it, We want to consume it. We consume TV programs, all type of different stuff we consume. It's in our face. But we don't have to get conscious. It's about getting conscious and recognizing there are a lot of opportunities, As I say, we take care of our cars, we oil it up, we put it in with gas, we make sure everything in top shape, and we're checking for that. But we think what we're supposed to check for, which is most important, is our body, and we ain't checking for that. You understand?
Yeah, why having a good house and you don't have a body to live in?
Definitely, And, the system gives us a manual for telephone, everything, but we don't got a manual for our body, And then we recognize, well, we be faced with a lot of ailments and them type of stuff there, And that's where I went through it too, I wasn't perfect, and I still ain't perfect, And for me, when I was going through stuff, I had to analyze the situation, whatever I consuming, and recognize, well, they were not life-giving properties in them. So now I choose to go to food where going to give me life properties, and I recognize the difference in my body, feeling much more vibrant and those type of ways, And having the chance to experience doing things with treating other people with herbs and everything, I see the value and the importance of the herbs them.
Because you see the destruction of the bad eating, and then you see how the herbs can repair it. And we can fact check, because people are saying, oh, you don't have fact. Let's fact check. There are people who are seriously gluten intolerant. I know of people who shows all of the fungus on their skin, and you say to them, you're eating lots of gluten. I have the same problem. I love Bass coconut bread. It was one of my peeves. I on Saturdays used to go make sure it's hot and it comes straight out of the oven. Used to eat it. Oh my gosh! When I'm done in the night, I am sick to my stomach because I know my body doesn't tolerate gluten well. I have a thyroid problem, and I know gluten is one of my biggest enemies. Sugar is another one of the problems that I have, but yet still I consume them. Why? Because it's poison and it tastes good. It does. It really does taste good. And so it's like an addiction. It's like a person who's addicted to alcohol. There are people who are addicted to different type of drugs, and we are addicted to food.
That's
and it's
true.
an addiction.
That's true.
And sugar for me is, I love chocolate. Love, 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 love chocolate.
Sugar is a drug,
It is a drug, and because
Sugar
it's an
is a drug,
addiction, you can see that
You know what I mean?
anything that can create that addiction, it's a drug. And
Definitely.
why? And people would have done that purposely so that they know it's a money-making scheme. Everything has sugar in there.
Definitely. I mean, even when you go to the doctors, and the doctor will tell you, yo, consume a lot of greens in your diet, because they know the importance of the greens. The greens having a lot of minerals and a lot of vitamins, full of phytochemicals, phytonutrients. That is what our body need.
But our bodies make a lot of these vitamins,
Yeah.
a lot of these amino acids, a lot of, but it takes these others to excite it. So
Definitely.
the more you eat is the more your body would produce it.
Secrete
And so
those,
so if you don't eat it, it means that it's not going to happen.
True. I mean, hormones are just acids,
Yeah.
Mineral acids, our body produce those type of stuff, and when we eating food that depleted of the vitamin and the minerals, that's where we get problems. We want to consume a lot of bread, a lot of starchy stuff, and these really pose a lot of problems within our system, a lot of sugars, that's a big thing. I mean, the salt, the iodized salt, where we're supposed to be using more sea salt.
Yeah.
You understand?
It has 102 trace minerals in there.
And the dairy thing too is a big thing, the milks from the cows,
Filled with bacteria.
Those pose a big threat upon our respiratory system, and create, a lot of deficiencies within our body, you understand? And when we check these supermarkets, they're full of all these type of food that we gravitate to. You know, the fast food lives and them type of stuff. These is what posing a lot of threats.
Let's fact check. Let's do some fact checking because, like I said, people always like to say we like to talk and we don't have information. Let's do it from from what we would have experienced growing up. People think now, they're gonna say you're gonna say where you are. Poor people cannot afford. I'm gonna tell you, we live somewhere. We have a small space. What we need to do is start planting the stuff that you need. When we were growing up, we were poor. I can tell you, we were very poor, but we were eating healthy. The first time I went to a doctor, I was 16 years old. Never been to a doctor before. Any little ailments, mumps, measles, all of those chicken pox, they came around, never been to a doctor because your parents knew exactly what to do. And my mother used to have simple remedies. For example, for measles, she used to give you rice water. And then she used to put you in the sun and sit down for a period of time. Before that, our regimen was you get up in the morning, you get some cod liver oil, you got some Scotch emulsion, you got some cuddle when your body feel run down, you got some ferro when you're showing signs of flu, you had the malt extract was another thing that she would give you. For me, that was jam. And every day it was a routine. But then at the end of the week or every 2 weeks, my mother did one thing that we don't do. She gave you something to detox you. It was some